Warm greetings. Warm greetings. Thank you all. Thanks so much. So, as we've been instructed and as we try to practice all the time in our formal sessions and also in post-meditation, try to reconnect these 3 points always. Renunciation, and bodhicitta, and pure perception. These are kind of the foundational points of Tibetan Buddhism, or Vajrayana. So renunciation, we can bring up this surge of joy and just kindness and kind of that refreshing gratitude. Can like highlight certain things that we're grateful for and like really kind of recognize how good we have it. So we kind of do that, joy and appreciation. And then secondly, bodhicitta, the heart mind of enlightenment. We all want to be happy and no one wants to suffer. It's just kind of a universal human condition quality. So we kind of recognize that and extend our motivation. That I'm doing this so that all beings can be relieved of suffering and the causes of suffering. So they can be happy and have the causes of happiness right now. And end up recognizing their own nature completely. They'll be free forever. And then thirdly, pure perception. In our case, we're connecting to the lineage blessings. That we didn't really discover these teachings for ourselves. I didn't discover the Four Noble Truths and the 5 Powers and the 10 Bhumis and all these things that have been handed to us. Then what a fortune we have. Like we connect with that. Wow, these amazing things we have at our disposal. And that reality works like this. And we have the power and the personal kind of like opportunity to kind of lean into our own goodness qualities and those of others. And have that be in the front. To begin by seeing the goodness. So this is like a very sutra way of talking about pure perception. To begin with Buddha nature and then continue. So kind of activate this opening door into pure perception too. So renunciation, bodhicitta, and pure perception. Kind of shine that on now. Thank you. It's good to remember these 3 points. That's what we're always that's where we're trying to begin, where we're kind of being, kind of continuing through, and where we're trying to, where this all leads to is these 3 qualities. So just to remember that when we sit down for a practice or to read the Dharma, to reflect on the Dharma, we're just trying to actually more genuinely connect to these 3 points. As the kind of maze of reality is so complex, and we ourselves are so complex within that, ourselves as dream beings in a very big dream world, that having these kind of key points in our minds to come back to, because that's actually where the path leads, it's where the path begins, and just to kind of, amidst all the amazing variety, to kind of retouch that home base again and again. So specifically, the topic of this kind of little brief talk and opening, just a slight bit into this one doorway of many, the topic of this kind of reflection now is called Overpowering Our Own Perceptions. Overpowering our own perceptions. And then the subtitle is kind of like the essential, is something like the essential value of power in Vajrayana Buddhism. So I kind of like going to the kind of little the spots that are little juicy, like power. So this is the topic today, power. And just today, like, oh, how is this going to be power? Because it's out on a limb, talking about power. So I went on a ding, 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 the magic smartphone, and just put in 3 words, rigpa, wiki, power. What does the internet say to me, And it came back with all these things. Rigpa, wiki, power. So that's my search field. And I got back of the 13,000 results in 0.33 seconds, 10 powers, 5 powers, 4 powers, 6 powers, 4 bases of miraculous powers, Vijaydhara with power over life, 4 empowerments, compassionate energy, empowerment, 5 strengths. If we've been in the Dharma for a little bit, these are kind of core things. I mean, they're very core, all of these. 5 powers, 10 powers, 6 powers, 4 bases, miraculous powers. So then I went, okay, what are the 10 powers? Because power, it's kind of like some degree a little bit of a iffy or off-limits topic. And it's like so curious, in Buddhism, why is it so off-limits? Why has this become so off-limits? So off-limit? Because Buddhism's filled with power. These books, if we get to them, I can do keyword search in these books. They're just filled with the word power. There's so much power in Tibetan Buddhism, and there's so much power in the nature. I mean, really, honestly, every single system dies without power. Disintegrates. What's power? Vital energy, life force, chi, like just that lung, the wind, the vitality, the clarity, the force, the power, right? I mean, it's so, in Tibetan Buddhism, oftentimes they put these 3, wisdom, compassion, power. These are the Buddha's teachings. The 3 lords in the outer tantras. Wisdom is Manjushri. Compassion is Avalokiteshvara Chenrezig. Power is Vajrapani, Lord of Secrets. It's so essential in Buddhism, and I would say in the nature, in all natural systems. They have to have the vital force, the energy. Any system, any person, any relationship. It has to have its own internal integrity. The energy which gives it, its movement, its activity, its expression, its like command of like how it can play in its arena, in its display. And Buddhism is just filled with power. The nature's filled with power. So I think the question is it's interesting, why is power so off limits to talk about? Because the nature's filled with it, and without it, the natural systems die. They disintegrate into subsystems that don't hold as much power, that are less complex, right? It goes down to lowest level energy level. Even at the subatomic particle level, that's how it functions. When the complexity can't cohere, it breaks into its more fundamental lower energy parts. That's just kind of how that happens. So power, overpowering one's own perceptions. And I've come to see in Sutra Mahayana, in my very little teeny tiny pinhole view of anything about Buddha Dharma, which is so sadly pathetic. It's so small. To even be able to say these things now is really kind of sad. It shows its really degenerate age. Really. I mean, the one thing that's not degenerate about that is that I'm trying to just repeat teachings that I've heard. The way the Buddha said, this is still intact. There's like a living, vital life force energy that still goes all the way back to Guru Rinpoche and Buddha Shakyamuni, and we still have it. It's still happening. It's still thriving. It's still alive. The power is still there. So what I've come to see in Sutra Mahayana in a tiny little pinhole view is power is really about alignment. Aligning. Lineage is about getting in proper relationship with reality. Proper relationship with myself. Right mindfulness. Right view. Right conduct. right speech. This is about a proper fit with what's going on around me. I'm lining up with it in a way where I can be with it, right? Have the power with. I can participate with it and not squash it, but also be receptive and let it do its thing, but within what I'm available for. So there's always this give and take, a tuning. This is called skillful means. It's the really key for Sutra Mahayana. Skillful means. If we're really trying to make the wish, that vow, the natural kind of such a beautiful, gigantic vow for all beings to be free of suffering. And I personally will be the one to help bring that about. My thoughts, my deeds, my actions. That's an amazing amount of power we need. So how am I going to have that power? And the answer actually gets really simple. Be with the nature. Tune into the nature. The power's already there. The natural systems already have their vitality. It's a question of how much can I hold without breaking? How much can I hold without getting stuck? Without boxing the natural vitality and the energy according to my preferences, my egoic clinging, my way. How willing is my view to flexibly engage with experience? How much of my own natural energetic display am I allowed to say, oh, this is happening. Oh, this anger is happening, and not just shut it off. Oh, this passion's happening, and not shut it off. And at the same time, not be ruled by it. But to let the nature move and to accommodate and let it do what it does, to align with the nature and not try to make it my way. To be with it and let it do what it does. Let it go. Because it's constantly correcting itself. Interdependence is constantly enhancing itself. I'm really kind of fixated on this word right now, auto-enhancing. I really think that's what the great bodhisattvas do. They sensitively see the cause and effect dynamics in a system, whether that's in a room or with a person or in themselves. They see that system, all the subtle cause and effect happening, so subtle, so much more subtle than sentient awareness. And they see what's stuck and what's available to be enhanced a little bit. What the readiness, disposition, and availability of the student, right? To receive a transmission blessing and empowerment. Right? It all comes down to the receptivity of the person, my own mind. And these bodhisattvas see it so clearly. These natural cause and effect dynamics. And they see where I'm available, where I'm stuck, and where I'm not available. And then they just give a little more space, a little more loving energy, a little more kind attention, a little more kind of frictional boost. A little more energy, a little more power in really specific spots, like a surgeon. And then my own system can start to auto-enhance itself. And then the power comes from me. And it's not some power bestowed on me. It's not I have to go and beg for power. But then my own awareness can wake itself up. And I need the support to actually be woken up. Because I haven't woken up yet. And it's been so long. I need that support. So then it becomes a really critical question with all the discussions on power. The real critical question comes around to discernment. Proper tuning. Proper alignment. In my mind, in this relationship, in this community, in this context, at this time, wherever I'm holding my field of vision, whatever I'm considering my world right now, what is available to be auto-enhanced? What needs to be boosted? And what can't? What's so stuck? It's not ready to open and have more wisdom energy come through. That's called discernment. Prajna. And that comes from within one's own mind. That's completely on my own power. I'm the one who has to see that. What's available in this situation now? And primarily, before I talk about power with and power over, I have to find my own personal integrity first. Otherwise, it's all just fancy talk. And usually it's used to blame other people and not take personal responsibility. First, I have to connect with my own goodness. So if we're talking in Buddhist context with Sutra Mahayana Buddhism and Tantra Mahayana Buddhism, Buddha nature has to be there first, which is where we began. We really have to connect with the goodness first. Goodness in others first, goodness in ourselves first. That's just a core foundational thing we cannot compromise. If we're really going to try to be practitioners, we can't start with where someone else is wrong or where I'm wrong. It completely shuts off our connection to our own power, their own power, and then how can we co-create and make awesome, more powerful, more empowering things? We can't. We start off with what's wrong, what's missing, what's lacking, what's broken, outside, inside. And then we try to build something on top of that, and all we get is power over. All we get is I feel something wrong inside, and I'm going to try to make you fill in the gap. That's a really oppressive power. And so we get all these ways of oppressive power. And so there's a history of oppressive power. And I think this is where a lot of the iffiness of this conversation comes up. We've gotten so used to oppressive power that a lot of people, and myself too, I have a habit of thinking all power is oppressive. But it's not true. Every system needs power. It needs vitality, integrity, discernment, energy, life force. It's not a question of power, yes power or no power. It's a question of what kind of power, and is it tuned into the system right now? What's happening in this specific thing, and primarily in my mind, in my heart. In Buddhism, like our gracious noble teacher Buddha, that's where he started. Be your own teacher. Even better than me being right next to you is for my own mind to have mindfulness, to see what my mind is doing right now. That's the greatest teacher. The Buddha said that, and Noble Nagarjuna repeated that in Letter to a Friend. And Khenpo Tsewang Rinpoche taught about this extensively in his Shedra on Letter to a Friend by Nagarjuna. Personal power has to start with my own responsibility to see, what am I doing? What am I bringing to this? The Buddha was so clear on this. And then Sutra Mahayana says, okay, so we develop that mindfulness, conscientiousness, alertness. We develop that personal, clear seeing that auto-enhances my speech and my activities. Because it brings more prajna, and the more prajna brings more compassion. And the compassion includes the system. It lets my natural vitality be there. And then the natural next move is to extend, to become a servant to the world. A servant of peace. That's the next natural extension of that. It's called Bodhichitta. It's a bodhisattva style. I discover I have some internal worth, then I take responsibility for really actually enhancing that and growing that and opening that and freshening that. My own power. And it naturally extends. Oh, you have so much worth and power too, so what can I do to tune into you? In your terms, what works for you, and your history and language and trauma and all the ways that our habits situate my sense of self. I can tune in there as much as I can according to my skillfulness, my power. And then whatever is available, uplift, and then let go. Because you have to keep your power. I can't do anything for you. Fundamentally, you can't make my mind wake up. You can just make it a little easier to have my own mind have a teachable moment. That's what an empowerment is. The teacher says, I'm doing this with my body, speech, and mind. They say, students, you do this with your body, speech, and mind. And then we'll do these ritualized things. We'll create this kind of very synthesized, very harmonic scenario. And we'll let the lineage blessings pour through it. And let all the wisdom beings totally mingle and merge with us here in the sacred space. And have the mind see itself more clearly. These are called the primary cause and condition, which is my mind seeing itself, and the secondary cause and condition, which is what all the empowerment dynamics are about. It's not some ritual hocus pocus. It's about connecting to the vital energy and the dynamics, like the cause and effect, way bigger than we ever usually do, and much more subtle than we ever usually do. So all of a sudden, all the juice of all this vast network of cause and effect is allowed to come into my being, my mind right now, like nectar being poured on my head. And Guru Yoga, right? It's the same thing. Self-empowerment in our own visualization practice, self-empowerment. And it's just so I can wake up. What? Not because something I didn't have came into me, but because my own power harmonized with itself more fully. It was less blocked. My own Buddha nature was shining out more beautifully. And then I have the power to keep doing that. That's what Vajrayana is about. In empowerment, we gotta try to see, oh, this happened. Oh, there is this type of nature. This fully open and compassionate, loving, kind. It's so much power, so much energy. And we try to recognize that, our own natural state of being. And then we try to reproduce that again and again, right now, in real time, in this sadhana practice, in this moment, even without a sadhana practice. We're trying to ongoingly recognize that same natural state. And eventually we get so good, try to use everything as a secondary support to have that waking up, to have that energy kind of like shine on. And then it's not a question really in that context, so this is a very Dharma context. In that context, this is not a question of power over versus power with. It's much more, in my estimation, a question of healthy power over and healthy power with. Power over, what does it mean? Hierarchy. There's really toxic hierarchies, and there's really liberative hierarchies. Toxic hierarchy, there's like so many crusades and genocides that have been done because of that. That is something to be, whatever we can do to avoid that, we should use our own prajna to avoid that and to stop that. Healthy hierarchies, Buddhism's filled with it. It's called 9 yanas, 10 bhumis. I mean, any hierarchical system, it's just a growth hierarchy. You start at step 1, then you move to step 2, then step 3. Your compassion starts like this, then it gets like this, then it's step 3, step 4. All the yanas, it's a total natural hierarchy system. If someone's on the 10th bhumi, they are definitely above someone on the first bhumi. Right? Their power, they have much more power. So you can say they're much more finely attuned to the nature. So what happens with healthy power over? We, meaning whoever's involved in the conversation, gets to decide, okay, what's the metric we're looking at here? Is it talking about bhumis? And what is bhumi measuring? Bodhichitta. Okay, so we're going to talk about bodhichitta. Okay, so how much is your bodhichitta on and how much is my bodhichitta on? Your bodhichitta is on 10th bhumi. My bodhichitta is nothing. Firefly in the sun. They have much more guidance and expert skillfulness on that metric than I do. So many beings. How do they use that power? A natural, healthy power over dynamic will help me recognize that in myself. And it'll let me know these are the steps I can take to do the same thing and to realize the same degree of power that they have. The best teachers in Buddhism want all their students to surpass them. And they give the means to do it. This is a very healthy hierarchy. The best teachers. Really. And for we ourselves, a really realistic assessment, we are compost for the future. Straight up. I want to be the most nutritious compost as possible for who's coming after this upcoming generation. And this is like such a big project to free all beings from samsara. It's such a big view. So what can I do to harmonize my own internal power, my vitality, and to rely on expert guidance, tuned into very specific metrics? The 10 powers, right? The 10 powers. Power over life, power over mind, power over material things, power over action. This is just straight up Sutra Mahayana power. It's all power over. Power over life, over mind, over material things, power over action, power over birth, power over aspirations, power over prayer, Power over miracles, power over wisdom, power over dharma. And then there's Mipham Rinpoche's commentary, Rigpa Wiki, 10 powers. This is called healthy power over, healthy hierarchy. There's no question that there is such a thing. I think it's a degenerate idea that all hierarchy is fundamentally bad, or that all power is fundamentally wrong. I think this is a very distorted perspective. You could just keyword search in any Buddhist book the word power, and you'll find the healthy version of the power. And then what is power with? Cooperative, participatory. It listens, it learns, it receives, it corrects. Oh, I made this mistake. Oh, you confess it. I made this mistake. I want to not make this mistake again. I want to receive the blessings and the 4 powers of Vajrasattva. Like, I'm going to activate those to actually remove that mistake from my stream of mind. And not keep doing it. Not keep going down that same old path. The same drain, Not leaking all my power. I want to have more integrity. So I can help others more and serve better. Tune into others better. Power with. And then once that kind of attunement happens more skillfully, then the arena of my capacity expands. I can serve more beings. I can cue into all the things they've been through so much more sensitively. So it's not just saying some like, oh, the 4 of these and the 10 of this and all that. It's not just frameworks that are totally reliable, but it's much more of a direct experience with what someone really needs to, like what's actually going on with them. And these really skillful realized beings like the Venerable Khenpo Rinpoches, they know right what it is. So they don't have to take some big hour-long thing. They just go right to the point. And it's what a blessing to be around beings like that. It just saves us so much time. This healthy power over. They tune into us and help us auto-correct ourselves to discover our own power. What an amazing blessing. There's so much to say about power. It's a very big topic. I'm going to very quickly go through. I just opened some of Rinpoche's books today and looked up the word power. And then I put them into, here's my narrative. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Okay. Chapter 1. This is the current May, upcoming, like the next month calendar quote. PBC calendar quote. Just one moment of understanding the nature of impermanence has tremendous power to soften and relax our mind, breaking down our ego clinging and grasping. Just one moment of tuning into impermanence has a tremendous power to soften and relax our mind, let our nature kind of shine on, and break down all the ways we're preventing that with our ego clinging. In Rinpoche's book, Ceaseless Echoes of the Great Silence, they're going over when the Heart Sutra was first taught with the Buddha between Shariputra and Chenrezig Avalokiteshvara. And they said this, the perfect time. There's the 5 perfections, one of which is the perfect time. Perfect time. The perfect time is undisturbed by mind, emotions, or environment. Its peacefulness allows the power of the teaching to manifest. The perfect time is undisturbed by mind, emotions, or environment. Its peacefulness allows the power of the teaching to manifest. There's not enough time to say a big thing about each of these, and they kind of speak for themselves. The 7 Nails by the Rinpoches, this is like their commentary on Sri Singha's 7 Nails that he gave to his students. So Sri Singha, this is on personal power. You have every authority and every power to change your future. Of course, the future has not yet arrived, but the present is here, and it's like the wheel of a car. Wherever you like to turn in the future is in your hands right now. For this reason, many great Dzogchen practitioners have said, the horse's reins are in your own hands. Wherever you'd like the horse to go, it is in your own hands and no one else's. This is called personal power. From a Dzogchen level. So we have the power fundamentally, and all the Buddha's teachings are based on that fact. we have to keep our own power. So a side point is that study is the insurance policy. If we actually find ourselves in an unhealthy power dynamic, then study, or like what we've heard from the Buddha and our contemplation, will cue us in to say, hey, the Buddha didn't teach this. According to my study and these scriptures and all this, the teachings I've received and what I've reflected, Buddha didn't teach that. And if you're with someone, like a teacher or a community, and they're unwilling to have the discussion about, is this according to the Buddha's teachings or not? If it's a Buddhist community, they should be very up for that conversation, because otherwise, what else are they doing? So for a student, you have to be able to check things. What's the role of a student? What's the quality of a teacher? What's the role of a teacher? What's the quality of a student? We've received these teachings so many times from our teachers. Why? So we can check for ourselves. What's going on here in my mind, in this relationship? What's expected? What's upcoming on the path? What are the pitfalls? How does the system maintain its integrity? That's called samayas, pratimosha vows, bodhisattva vows. Protection, the protections to maintain the internal integrity or power of a system, to make my promise come true, my bodhisattva aspiration come true, my Vajrayana commitment come true. They give us all these guidelines so we can do it for ourselves. This is called really healthy power with and healthy power over. So then uprooting clinging. Commentary on Mipam Rinpoche's Wheel of Analytic Meditation. So this is Sutra Mahayana, Mipam Rinpoche, largely on the 5 skandhas. These are all Khenpo Rinpoche's books. So this is on lessening the power of thinking. So now it's talking about lessening power. It is important to exercise authority over what we call mind. It needs a certain state of discipline, when what we think is not always true. In fact, our minds are often very deluded. We shouldn't give our thoughts full authority or power over us. Otherwise, we give too much power to thinking, which causes instability in our minds. In order for mindfulness to guide our thoughts in the right direction, observing our thoughts is all that we need to begin. To discipline the mind and put it on the right track, all that is required is here, right now, in our own mind itself. Loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom are what lead it in the right direction and cultivate proper discipline. So we have to be discerning again over what we're giving authority to, even in ourselves. Is this thought chain of delusion? Is it not empowering me, or is it empowering me? We have to discriminate or discern. That's called mindfulness, right? Then this goes on to talk about the power of rigpa, not just the sometimes unhealthy power of neurotic mind, but the healthy power of wisdom awareness. Ego is the misconception that personality is everything. It's a kind of holding and grasping which, by its very nature, does not allow for freedom or openness. As a result, the nature of mind, rigpa, is not able to fully display all of its inherent qualities. The energy and power of the inner state is not fully revealed. Ego doesn't allow the original wisdom of non-conceptual wakefulness to radiate. In addition, it doesn't allow us to see the illusory nature of attachment. Instead, ego clinging, which is what ego is, manifests in every single action, outer and inner, middle, top, and bottom, throughout the body and the mind. When ego clinging is loosened, there is a natural openness, freedom, and relaxation that allows love and compassion to arise. As attachment is removed, love and compassion radiate out very easily without effort. Since possessiveness and greed are a result of ego clinging, when ego clinging is absent, they naturally disappear, and instead they're replaced by non-attachment and generosity. In fact, to go beyond clinging is to realize the true nature of emptiness. And to fully realize emptiness is to become an arhat or a bodhisattva. So that's what a healthy power is like, when we don't kind of box it up and constrain it. Then in their book, there's a restricted book on Yeshe Lama called The Supreme Wisdom. There's a section, page 314, on the 5 powers. Then I jump to the 5th one, the power of wisdom. The 5th and final power is the power of wisdom. As we've said before, wisdom means knowing something clearly without deprecation, exaggeration, subtracting, adding, or labeling. It knows everything as it is. This is the nature of rigpa. Rigpa is free from all complexities and all dualities. Rigpa is pure, unimpeded, and free from coming and going. It is free from existing, non-existing, neither, and either. Rigpa is totally free, totally infinite, totally open, and totally empty. It embodies all of the kayas, and all the wisdoms are completed within it without missing anything. Relaxing without making any effort and knowing everything clearly as it is known as wisdom. In Dzogchen, we are kindling the light of self-born wisdom. Rigpa illuminates, clarifies, and brings brightness in every direction beyond all directions. It goes beyond space, time, and every other conception. That is the power of wisdom. In order to keep our practice moving forward, it is very important to have these 5 powers all the time. They make our practice more directed and bring us closer to our goal, which is why the Buddha called them powers. When you have power, you have abilities. We should always apply these 5 powers in both meditation and post-meditation. And they're the powers of devotion, joyful effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. And there's a Pema Mandala that goes over the 5 powers extensively by the Khenpo Rinpoches. So that's what the power of rigpa is like. Then in their book, Vajra Sound of Peace, Practicing 7-Chapter Prayer of Guru Padma Sambhava. This was Khenchen Baldwin Sherab Rinpoche's last big teaching here in 2010. He taught for a month on this text. Page 41. The Dharmakaya Lama, the nature of the mind, is not a negation state. It's not nihilistic, blank, or empty. As it says in the text, it is filled with great compassion and great wisdom power. This is the clarity aspect of the mind, which Guru Padma Sambhava calls the pure land of spontaneous great bliss. Altogether, the inherent qualities of compassion, wisdom, and clarity are the pure land of great blissfulness. Many forms emanate from this pure land, but there are 5 principal ones: form, sound, mind, qualities, and actions. These are known as the 5 wisdoms, and also as the 5 dhyana Buddhas. They are the Sambhogakaya, the mind's active expression of compassion, wisdom, and clarity. So the clarity aspect of mind is the power of the mind. So the whole point here is if we give out a power as if power is all bad, we lose everything. It's like a floppy rag doll. But what we have to keep having is discernment. Tuning. We have to tune in. And what am I ready for? Is this working or not? And that's our own personal intelligence, our own wisdom is required. That's where the path doesn't become just some kind of like theistic. It's not theistic, because Buddhism is not theistic. We're actually trying to recognize from within, but while relying on supports outside, so that we can better serve everyone outside. So we find internal freedom so we can better serve other beings. This is also the union of republicanism and democraticism. Internal freedom so that we can best serve everyone else. There's a really fine point there. Internal power, so we can have power with in a more extensive way. So that's just one side point. Okay, so this, I'm almost done. The Rinpoche's Ana Yoga book, the Shedra they gave for a month on Ana Yoga Yana, a whole yana, the 8th yana, called The Key to Opening the Wisdom Door of Anu Yoga. On page 2, they go over this. The 3 inner tantras will rule over or empower everything. In other words, this yana will completely reveal the nature, or the purity of the way things are, without holding anything back. But what exactly do we mean by rule over or empower? The Tibetan expression is wanggyur. Wang is power, and gyur is turning, ruling over, ruling out, or power of method, skills, or secret. So what does ruling over or ruling out mean here? It means this teaching will rule over or rule out duality mind, ordinary mind, or regular duality conceptions. And from where or to where will it rule them out? It will rule them out in the purity state, the way the nature already is. Thus, the inner tantras rule out regular, ordinary duality conceptions and usher us into the purity status known as the purity state of wisdom and the kayas, or the purity state of wisdom and forms. So this is where we're subduing our own neurotic states of mind and grasping. This is healthy power. This is actually the whole path of Buddhism, is what we have to do. Then in their Liberating Duality with Wisdom display book, The 8 Emanations of Guru Rinpoche, on page 3, Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche say, Guru Padmasambhava is associated with transforming negative energy into more peaceful and compassionate forms, and with developing power and a heart of loving kindness and compassion. So Guru Rinpoche is associated with transforming negative energy into more peaceful and compassionate forms, and with developing power and a heart of loving kindness and compassion. Wisdom, compassion, and power. And this is the last one I'll do. There's one more. In Essential Journey, all of Rinpoche's books, they all go over the power so extensively. And the tantras are just filled with power. And there's many ways that they unpack this and many levels of the meaning of power. And if we use our own discernment, then this becomes something that we can really have it really auto-enhance our own path and not waste so much time. I mean, honestly, for myself too. So the last thing is this Dzogchen view, which Rinpoches have taught about quite a lot. And a Dzogchen view is often taught about in these 3 ways: the essence, the nature, and the compassionate energy or power. And the essence, and this is, we're about to say a prayer by His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche about these 3 kayas. Dharmakaya is the essence, and the nature is the Sambhogakaya, and the compassionate energy is the Nirmanakaya display, the power. And here, with these 3, the power, or this compassionate energy, which is called Tukche, then it says it has 3 qualities, and this is all very traditional. The quality of being unconfined, unobstructed, and all-pervasive. So that's the natural radiating power of reality and of our own mind. We're a part of that dream. And then they say those same compassionate energy, the arising display of mind, of the wisdom mind, has 3 wonderful qualities. Then one is the wisdom that knows, so it discerns accurately. There's 5 wisdoms. The compassion that is loving and caring. It includes, it embraces everything. Nothing's left out. There's no favorites, and there's no preferences. And then 3, the power that is able to liberate, protect, and benefit beings, and fulfill the enlightened activity of the Buddhas. So this is the power of this compassionate energy, to liberate, protect, and benefit beings, and fulfill the enlightened activity of the Buddhas. So this is the nature of mind. I mean, this is what this teaching is about. And if we don't let that power be there in the nature of the mind, then we're not working with the nature of the mind. And if we don't let the power be there, this kind of healthy discerning power, then we can't do anything on the path. We need that vital force. And then to bring it all to a point, when we're dying, And we can't rely on any external anything, because all our ways of cognizing and making sense of things and referring to things, the sounds and smells and tastes and forms and memories, it's all going to go out of our control. At that moment, we'll see how much personal power we have. Did we take all our power and put it outside? Blame someone else? Or did we really actually activate our own intelligence? What is there unaffected by whatever happens? And that's going to be a very practical question. It's not even a question at that point. It's just going to be an experience we have. And we'll see for ourselves, how much did I really actually take my own personal power seriously? And we'll see. And I really hope we all see, and then we all get free, because we really did now take that question genuinely seriously, to cultivate that connectedness to others, that really genuine bodhisattva outreach, to want to care for them and uplift them and serve them and be with them and tune into them. And then the discernment that, okay, so I am affected by reality and by others, because I'm a conditioned being and this is a conditioned mind. So to wisely be affected, to wisely receive guidance, and to wisely discern what's not helpful and just put it aside. So to wisely be affected by experience, that's called education. Everything is like a teachable moment, and everything actually can be empowering. These are the higher level Tantra teachings. Everything can be seen as the Guru. At that level, if we're really going to use discernment. And then similarly, at the same time, we're wisely being affected, being changed, being influenced, being opened, being softened. At the same time, we're trying to see what cannot be affected. The deathless nature. What in me is not a question of whatever happens with that power over or power under or power with or good or bad or right or wrong or healthy or unhealthy, toxic or natural. It's nothing to do with that. It's just the great equality, which is where all these practices are rooted in. And the final point in Guru Yoga, yes, the Guru Rinpoche is above. And where did Guru Rinpoche come from? Within. And what's the nature of Guru Rinpoche? The same as my nature. And Guru Rinpoche's realized so much more of that nature than me. He's way beyond little old me and my small-mindedness. So he has power over, and it's healthy. And he's from within me, because it's my display. So that's power with. And our nature is the same. That's the great equality. And it's totally pure. He's completely beyond all dualistic fixation. That's the great purity. And at the end, his mind mingles into my mind out of his so much compassion, and we become inseparable and the same. And then everything is just a display of reality, and let its power do what it does naturally. So thank you. I appreciate you all very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to open this door because it's a door already opened, but maybe it's not done with so much love. And I wanted to also say this is really relevant to Buddha Dharma. So we have to discern what's this really healthy power. It's because this really comes down to integrity of the lineage. If we don't really clearly discern how the lineage is really relating to these kind of questions, these kind of inquiries, and to really have that inquiry be alive in our minds with really clear, empowered discernment, then it's a very chaotic world now. We can lose all kinds of amazing things. So really, I'm very strong about this. Not on my watch. I'm not going to be the one to lose the integrity of the lineage teachings, even though I'm just like a speck of nothing. Like at the very least, we can do the way we've received it, and we can just really try to like allow for the blessings of the lineage to enter us and to change us, and to do that with a lot of internal integrity and like personal power. And that's what the Buddha asked us to do. So I think it's important for me to say that in terms of me talking about power, anything, that I really genuinely, like, I see in a lot of ways, like, I'm very much coming from a place of advantage or privilege. So I'm definitely a white male, heteronormative, cisgender, middle-aged person in the United States of America right now. And so it's kind of very questionable for me to be talking about a topic like power. So I really see that. And at the same time, I'm genuinely like, this is such an important topic to really have an inquiry around. And I know a lot of people don't have the advantage I have, and in particular of really being able to be in the company and to learn at the feet of extraordinary realized beings like the Venerable Khenpo Rinpoche's. That is just an unimaginable privilege or an advantage. And I've had that very special, unique opportunity and still enjoy it, and I'm so glad that I do. But for people who haven't had that and who have really been hurt, like really hurt, intentionally hurt by unhealthy, toxic power dynamics, like I'm so sorry that that's a part of your experience now, and I'm really genuinely, like that's like deeply troubling for me. And so still, like, how can we hold that space, like this inquiry around like our own internal kind of energy and power and vitality, like how can we reconnect to that and like really kindly and clearly put ourselves in the company of others and of supportive conditions that help us like reestablish trust and reestablish connection to the goodness in others as well as ourselves, and then step by step to undergo that process of like personal exploration and also personal freedom, like the path of enlightenment. So I see that that's definitely a slow process, regardless of where we're coming, like wherever we enter that path, it's going to be an exceptionally demanding path. And I think for most of us in this very like supercharged, powerful, frightening charnel ground, which is the 21st century, we all need to proceed very carefully and gently and like with a lot of self-conscious kindness and intelligence, to see what tunes with us and what doesn't, and to really take responsibility as much as we can for that too, and to surround ourselves with the nutritious conditions that help us really get into those stuck spots we have and open them and give them more renewed vital energy so we can continue to expand and grow and soften and keep going on a path of enlightenment for ourselves and all beings. That's a slow and very involved process for any of us. And so I wanted to really clearly say that. And then to be in a lineage structure, if you have that opportunity, and there's many of them, and there's many different world religious traditions that have them, and then the structure itself is also different from the people who are in the structure. So we really do have to use all of these capacities we have and let those come out and fully inform how we engage step by step with our path. So I hope you find those supports for yourself. I'm trying to actively stay tuned into the ones that I've found for myself, and like all together really to like bring out that vitality of the nature so that we can all like be refreshed and enjoy it together as like one really big family, like in this together. So thank you, friends. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you.